Deeply Unqualified. Before we start, I want to emphasize that today's AI is the most limited, flawed version we'll ever know. Every version from here on out will be faster, smarter, and more autonomous. And yet we're already trusting it with human lives. So if we don't wrestle with ethics now, when will we? Today, we need to talk about the operating room. And not as it was, as it's becoming. Because artificial intelligence isn't coming to neurosurgery. It's already here. And it's not just assisting, it's deciding, guiding, replacing. And that raises a question so fundamental, it shapes the ethics of our field. Who's responsible when the robot makes a mistake? This isn't hypothetical anymore. AI is now part of how we diagnose, how we plan, and increasingly, how we operate. At McGill University in January 2025, researchers unveiled an AI model that can detect the spread of metastatic brain cancer using only MRI with 85% accuracy. Imagine, no surgery, no biopsy, just pattern recognition beyond what the human eye can perceive. At Duke, AI is helping distinguish radionecrosis from recurrence post-radiosurgery, a distinguish even experienced radiologists often struggle to make. In Toronto, at St. Michael's Hospital, another AI tool helps triage surgical candidates, removing some of the guesswork. This isn't just optimization, it's a shift from human interaction to software, from intuition to inference. Let's take a second to appreciate what this really means. For decades, brain tumor diagnosis followed a green path. A scan if it's suspicious, then a biopsy, cutting into the brain to get to the truth. But now, we have AI models that differentiates glioma from hemorrhages, metastasis, and meningiomas with area under the curve values above 0.95, some reaching even 1 point. That's not just good, that's transformational. It creates what researchers now call a safety net for virtual glioma biopsies. Imagine this. Your patient walks in with symptoms. Instead of scheduling a risky biopsy, you run a high-resolution MRI through an AI model trained on thousands of cases. It tells you with near certainty what kind of tumor it is. This changes absolutely everything. Fewer invasive procedures, faster treatment, lower risk, and critically, new ethical stakes. Because now you're making a decision not on what you cut and see, but what a model infers. But what if it's wrong? Let's take that logic into the OR. The robotic era began with Mazor Spine Assist in 2004. It since evolved into the Mazor X Stealth Edition, ExcelsiusGPS, Rosa, and more, each system adding more autonomy, better tracking, real-time feedback. And this is just one case. These platforms offer sub-millimeter precision in pedicle screw placements. In brain biopsies, studies show a mean entry error of 1.04 millimeters. That's surgical accuracy beyond most human hands. And with that comes faster procedures, less bleeding, less radiation. Some spinal procedures now finish 50 to 60 minutes faster using robots. The benefits are clear. From 2019 to 2022, the Mazor Stealth Edition showed a 2.2% complication rate in spinal surgery. Let's translate that. 264 patients. Robot-related complications in 6. Nerve injuries, a motor deficit, a torn dura. And these aren't fluke errors. A review of over 300 robotic failures events in the FDA mode database showed that 73.6% were due to imprecision, almost 14% from unresponsive software, and 10% caused procedural delay over an hour. This isn't just a technical issue, it's an ethical one. Because robots don't malpractice. So again, I ask, who's responsible when the robot makes a mistake? Now, let's walk through the fault lines. The reference frame errors. The robot isn't wrong internally, it's wrong in relation to the patient. It operates perfectly inside a flawed map. In some studies, half of all robot-related complications were due to misaligned reference frames. And no, that's not an easy fix. Because in neurosurgery, brain shift is real. Um, Pathology changes the anatomy, and once the dura is open, anatomy moves. AI can adapt, yet shifts up to 50 millimeters have been recorded. That's a massive discrepancy for a system trained on static data. But beyond technical glitches, AI also introduces a new class of mistakes, ones human surgeons are less likely to make. These are sometimes called inhuman errors, like missing a highly displaced fracture so visually obvious a trained human wouldn't overlook it, but a machine lacking intuitive pattern recognition might. These aren't errors of fatigue or distraction. They're errors of design baked into the model itself, and they underscore the need for rigorous error analysis that goes beyond simple accuracy metrics, because how a system fails matters just as much as how often. Now, let's talk about algorithmic bias. If your AI was trained on white, middle-aged male patients in urban hospitals, what happens when you apply it to indigenous patients in rural Canada or young women in South America? Bias isn't just a data problem, it's a life or death variable in this case. And unless we train on diverse, representative data, we risk building tools that work better for some than for others. And that's not just bad medicine, that's injustice. And what about informed consent? Can you truly explain to a patient what a machine learning model does? You may say something like, your diagnosis was made by a black box that learned from 10,000 anonymized cases, and I trust its probability map. Does that feel safe? Does that feel like consent? And what about the surgeon? We say AI assists, but in real practice, it also nudges, suggests, often ranks for us. A study showed that even experienced clinicians change their decision when an AI disagrees, even when the AI is wrong. This is a paradox of trust. The more accurate the system, the harder it is to question it. And yet, surgeons remain legally and ethically responsible. There is no checkbox for the AI told me to. Canada is one of the few countries actively building an ethical scaffold around this. Health Canada now requires any AI-enabled device to demonstrate robust safety in diverse population, compliance with good machine learning practices, and a predetermined change control plan to manage evolving models after approval. But there's a gap. Canada's system still struggles with underreporting. Since 2008, over 1,400 Canadians have died in device-related incidents, and yet incident reporting remains sporadic, incomplete, often ignored. Transparency exists in policy, but not always in practice. And that's dangerous because if we don't track the errors, we simply can't fix them. And when those failures happen, who's responsible? The developer who coded the algorithm, the hospital that deployed it, the surgeon who followed its plan, or the AI itself? As surgical robots become more autonomous, the boundaries of liability blur. I want to be clear, AI won't replace neurosurgeons, but it will change who we are and how we operate. Tomorrow's surgeon won't just need steady hands, they'll need algorithmic literacy, ethical fluency, a willingness to question the machine, and the humility to override it even when it says it's 99.9% right. Because the human brain isn't a probability distribution, it's alive. And in the end, no matter how precise the tool, it's your name on the chart. So maybe the question isn't who's responsible when the robot makes a mistake. Maybe it's, are we ready to stay responsible when the robot makes a choice? This was Deeply Unqualified. Thank you for listening.